Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another episode of the Liberalish podcast. This is episode 28. Moving right along here. As you can tell, we're looking a little bit different here. The lovely, the beautiful Carly isn't here. Instead, we have he's okay looking, but it doesn't matter. He got money. He's a Nigerian Prince. He hit me up on Twitter. I give a special shout out to Dan the fan. He finally made a special appearance. So shout out to Dan. We also have Marcus is here and Ryan's here and Yal's in the background. So shout out to you guys. So first things first, you might notice a little bit something that's a little bit different. If you're watching along as opposed to listening, you'll see I have the Capitol building behind me. I'm all ready to storm the Capitol again. So I just got this in the background. It's just to get me in the mood, get me excited.
Yo, bro, you black, bro. You're not a part. You can't express your feelings that way.
Tim Scott actually told me I could. Thank you very much. So
I guess he didn't tell you the separate part, right? As Lindsey Graham said, to go through South Carolina, you can be whatever color. You just got to be Republican.
I would be an independent. How about that? I would switch to independent. That basically means Republican, anyways. All right. So we got a jam-packed podcast for you guys today. We're going to talk about some headlines. We haven't been potting for a while because we're in college. We're busy. We don't get paid yet. So we're going to talk about some headlines, then move on to some good news, then have a couple of Q&A discussions, and then pass it on to our new chief African and Middle East correspondent, Dan, here to talk about what's going on in Israel and Palestine. All right, guys. So Dan's going to be like, he's going to get such a terrible review after this podcast. All right, so let's kick off the headlines. So again, we haven't potted in a while, but Joe Biden gave his first joint session at Congress. It's not a State of the Union because he hasn't reached a year in office yet. A fun fact. But this is the first time in history that two women sat behind the president. Just shout out to history.
Both of them from the Bay Area. Don't forget.
That's a good point. Yeah, both of them are from the Bay Area. So shout out to California.
Trying to say, bro.
What was that?
Are you trying to
say, from the Bay Area?
You have a West Coast. You got a West Coast bias. Big New York, bro.
Yeah, this is the New York podcast, Dan. Come on,
the
man.
New York podcast.
Whoa. When did this become a New York podcast? This is news to me,
bro.
All right. This is what happens when I try to be the boss and I fail miserably. So this is
no. This is what happens when the Knicks make the playoffs for the first time and people start talking crazy. All right, let's be real about this.
You know what, bro? Carry on the conversation. I'll be right back in like 5 seconds.
I will talk shit on the Knicks, but I do not want to jinx the Sixers. I do want to make it past the second round, so I'm going to keep my comments to myself until the second round comes around.
It's wise.
So, shout out to Doc Rivers, shout out to the Sixers, shout out to the Knicks. Dan, do you follow NBA at all or no?
No, not really.
Yeah, man.
Well, I got my Sixers shirt on, man.
Take that off, bro. Ben Simmons averaging worse numbers than when he was a rookie, bro.
Again, I'm going to reserve my comments till the second round. But hey, I mean, it's cute that you guys made the playoffs. You know, that's cute. A long time coming.
4th seed on court advantage, even though the tickets is $1,000 for some way up in the ceiling tickets.
The Madison Square Garden's always been a little bit overpriced, anyways.
All right, chill out.
Jimmy Jones has to get those dollars, you know.
Basically.
James Dolan is a thief. He owns the Knicks, he owns MSG, and he owns the Islanders. So he owns the 3 entities that comes there. So he's paying himself. He's rented himself the Madison Square Garden all the time.
Yeah, the guys. Let me shout out to him. Unfortunately. All right, so
nasty shout out.
It's a horrible
nasty shout out.
Speaking of nastiness, Joe Manchin pretty much threw cold water on the DC statehood. He said that it should be referred to as a constitutional amendment, and he cited the 23rd Amendment. Giuliani's in trouble with the feds. FBI raided his apartment. So shout out to New York Mayor. Yeah, right. Poor guy. Let's see.
America's mayor, right?
That's America's mayor.
America's mayor.
proper representation of what America has come to right now.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's also a
Yeah,
good
I think-
representation of the Republican Party, right? So
And like, it's like, the thing with Giuliani is that I mean, okay, sure, like this guy, he was able to, like, when he was mayor, brand himself with like popular policies in New York. Like, it was I remember he ran for president in 2008.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Went
the thing
nowhere.
was that, like, at first it seemed like he could be the guy, but like with early polling, but then, like, the thing was that the Republican Party wasn't ready to support a guy who was like pro-abortion, pro-LGBT, you know. I mean, and like besides that, when he was running for mayor of New York, I think it was the second time. It was against Dinkins, and like
Yeah.
they held out rally outside City Hall where he brought policemen, and then they were just yelling racial slurs at City Hall,
Yeah.
and like that's what, like, that those kind of voters, like, they were instrumental to, like, getting him over the mayoralty.
Yeah. It was pretty
Yeah,
much
that's the part. Yeah, that's the part where people leave out. How he became mayor.
yeah. I
Very
mean,
true.
that's the point. Also, it was a perfect storm too, because I think Staten Island wanted its independence from New York City.
Yeah,
So he fed off of that Staten Island hate. I still think Staten Island should just be like cut off from the US entirely and just be his own
yeah. I
separate
mean, it's
country.
like give it to New Jersey.
No, we don't want it in New Jersey, but treat it like Long Island, where it can just be. It's like it's New York, but it's its own entity in New York. It doesn't have to be the fifth borough.
Yeah.
You can give that status to Yonkers or something, but
Right.
let's
yeah.
let Staten Island go.
Yeah, just let Staten Island. I really don't understand why Staten Island is there.
It's already like $13 to cross that bridge. So
Stupid, bro.
That too.
It says Staten Island is like, we voted like what 70% for Trump these last two elections. And like, yeah, like for like an out and like for an outsider, like seeing like this part of New York City that actually like voted enthusiastically for Trump, like, it's mind-boggling.
It's nasty to think of it as part of New York City because like it's such a departure from the other ones. Like even like Queens, like I joke, is like it's pretty much like Eastern or Western Long Island, but even Queens isn't as bad as Staten Island. Like it's, you meet anybody from Queens, it's like, oh, they're going to be bad. They don't have kind things to say about black people most of the time. Like it's Staten Island's nasty.
Staten Island's a very nasty.
Staten Island is where NYPD lives. So I will not say anything because I currently live in New York City. In fear of those robot dogs.
I heard about that. Have you seen one?
$75,000 of taxpayer money for a robot dog. Can't sniff, detect coke.
I saw a video of those dogs like roaming through the city, and then someone asked, what is de Blasio going to do about these dogs now?
Yeah.
Well, Bill de Blasio probably say he's a black son and that he feels and understands our pain, but they absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah. No, honestly, that guy is such a disappointment. I can still remember when I was a kid in high school, and regarding a got killed, and like he was saying, okay, I mean, I have a black wife and children. I mean, so you're basically saying
Asian
this
wife
place isn't safe for me to
married a Zoe.
Right, and it took like 5 years for he didn't even fire the cop. I think a New York City police judge ordered fire
the cop. Yep.
Yeah. So, 5 years sitting at a desk collecting a check. That is nuts. And you killed someone. that's
No
just
reason.
nuts.
That's
Sick world.
Yeah,
Sick.
super nuts to me.
Cold world, man. Cold world.
Oh, shout out to Jcole and his new album, by the way.
Shout out Jcole, man.
Very mid.
All right, bro.
Bro,
what?
No, this is not the What You Expect podcast. We cannot.
You're right. No, hey, you brought it up. I'm
J.
just
Cole is
saying.
very political, bro. So this counts, bro. What are you saying?
I mean, so is Immortal Technique. Like, and he sucks too. So, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm minding my business. It's not a music pod. So,
right. Shout out to Armand. Anyways, so I really want to get into this. There's two things I really want to get into. Actually, cross out three things. Basically, in the Derek Chauvin case, as we were talking about police and this police brutality, 11 out of 12 jurors were just ready to go, just ready to convict Chauvin all three charges. It was just one juror that kind of held out each time. So shout out to them. Apparently, they said that none of the comments from Maxine Waters or anything like that influenced their decisions. They just saw a dude get murdered on TV and just thought he was guilty. So shout out to them. Bill and Melinda Gates proves that marriage cannot work. And we also learned that
my girlfriend right here, bro. Girlfriend right here, bro. Don't tell me marriage not working, bro.
Shout out to my girlfriend too. Also, we learned that Bill is a nasty, nasty man.
The man, Jeffrey Epstein, buddy.
Speaking of nasty people, I'm going to cancel myself by correcting myself. Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner had a pretty disastrous interview with Sean Hannity.
Don't forget the one with Dana Bass.
I didn't see that.
That's the one I saw. I didn't even see the one on 14.
Bro, you have to see that one, Dan. It's the one where she said homeless people getting away.
I saw the text.
People from the private jet owners, man. Imagine you try to cruise down in your 12 miles per gallon Rolls Royce and see a couple of homeless people while you're trying to go sit on your private jet that you paid $30,000 for one trip for it with.
Well,
the thing is, Republic, they always do this. Like they always weaponize homeless people to say, okay, look, these Democrats, they haven't done anything. You see, these homeless people, they're all around still there. When it's like, the thing is, everyone knows their policies actually exacerbate this whole thing.
There was also like a thing I read that some cities and counties, what they do with their homeless population is that they buy them a bus ticket or a train ticket, and they are sent over to like states that do have like a pretty good like homeless care population or actually do care about the homeless. So that's like
what?
Yes. California to other states, basically, they just buy them a ticket to just leave, and just be out of the city. That is something that we don't.
That's fucking insane, man.
I mean, like, okay, coming from like,
oh my gosh,
coming from where I come,
there's mad articles about it, bro. Vice did a documentary.
Yeah, man, it's like the nastiest thing ever. But I'm sorry, Dan, what were you saying? We cut you up, bro.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, like, because of where I'm from, this actually sounds like a really nice thing to do. But like, I mean, like, I get it. No. Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
I don't know. No, see, I don't want to do Oppression Olympics, but I mean, bro, see, like homelessness or poverty, like in somewhere like Nigeria now, like in Lagos, like it's not something like to fuck with, honestly.
Right.
So I mean, the fact that some of these guys are being carried over to states that like would give a damn about them. I mean, I get that, but I mean, like I get like it's on the surface it seems compassionate, but like below, like you can tell like it's like just heartless. Like it's like these are guys like in your area, like you like do the damn thing,
So I read somewhere. Just read one right now. The guy got put on a bus from Des Moines, Iowa, with $40 in his pocket, straight to San Francisco, bro.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah,
I'm just saying to San Francisco, like,
bro. There's no way you justify that, bro.
Like I was even expecting.
People with jobs can't afford to live in San Fran. Sorry, but that's just nuts.
No, like when you said Iowa, I was even expecting you to say, okay, maybe like they took this guy to like the homeless center in Chicago. Oh no, they took him all the way. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, all the way to California, but I mean, that is a part of the problem, right? So like the media kind of like shits on California, and like I don't know California's full length of like their homeless policy, so I don't know if some of it's justified or not. But at a state level, they are dealing with people that aren't from the state; they're just being sent there. So that's not really fair. That's something that we just kind of gloss over when we kind of shit on California about.
So it's like these guys like. People from like Iowa basically like shove them out to California, and then like that's why like the homeless part of where the homeless population in California is rising, and then like they keep using this as a cudgel on California.
Right, exactly. So they'll say that California is failing. Look at this example, but They're just merely
Yo,
just outsourcing their problem.
I just seen another story, bro. This guy got put on a bus from San Francisco to Indianapolis, bro. 2,275 miles over 3 days to reach his destination, bro.
Wow.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, this is not funny, but that's what used to be
he,
like.
he lived somewhere because his mom. He lived there. He stayed there because his mom. He had to visit his mom to get. His mom had cancer or something, bro.
Ah, shit, that's really sad.
The city just shipped him out crazy, bro.
That's nuts.
That's nuts.
Insane, bro.
That's nuts. I would say shout out to California. I don't know who to shout out, but you know what, man, help the homeless. Give them $1.
I've seen a lot of your homeless policies. Like they're actually really trying. Like it might not be something I like, it might not be something you like, but for the most part, like these guys are actually like really trying. Like the thing with homeless, it's not something you address in a day. It's like a systemic thing that takes like a lot of commitment. You know, and it's like
the governor. Sorry.
Okay.
I was going to say that the governor was just called for $12 billion to kind of try to help the homeless issue. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of housing issues that the California has, just with like not even dealing with the homeless population, just like there just isn't enough housing supply in the state to deal with everybody that's kind of been coming there because there's a lot of like not in my backyard or NIMBYism going on.
Yeah. I was just about to talk about that. Like
they're just not building the housing.
Yeah, like that's actually a huge problem. Like not just like in California, but like a lot of basically generic California, New York type states where it's like these guys have to deal with NIMBYs, and it's like, and funny. I was reading about some Jewish state senator from California. I've forgotten his name, but he said the thing is so weird. It's like they deal with the NIMBYs, like coalition of some conservatives and like some kind of like ardent Republicans and some guys on the far left, guys that you would see putting up a Bernie Sanders sticker on their apartment buildings. Like, yeah, they're putting NIMBYs. These guys defeat affordable housing plans in LA, San Fran, New York City, Chicago. It's crazy.
That's actually not too crazy because I think like when the Karen jokes were going around, like women were calling cops on black men for doing absolutely nothing. A lot of those cases were in California.
Yeah.
And I think producer Yao is even talking about that as well too. Like he's rich. He lives in San Francisco. So he was also talking about that in his neck of the woods as well. So, all right. So shout out to Cali, shout out to San Francisco, shout out to the Bernie / conservative supporters. Shout out to those guys. So moving along our list here, Andrew Yang is in the driver's seat for New York City's mayor. There was a New York Times piece that came out against his campaign manager, Bradley Tusk, who allegedly has conflict of interest as a tech investor. Sounds like Andrew Yang is ready to be mayor, and he has my support.
Yeah, it's not even a real, like, there are other things to be mad at Andrew Yang about, but not the whole scooter thing, which I think is the issue. Bradley Tusk is like a scooter investor, and Andrew Yang came out and said, yeah, we should have more scooters.
Is that it?
And the Times tried to make it a big deal.
It's more than that. I mean,
there's more than,
it's like, because I've seen because the thing is, a lot of guys like don't like his stances. Like, I can't remember the details. I wish I could, but they basically asked him a question about like teachers union and like getting people in schools, and like he was just blaming teachers unions, and like they got really pissed at that. So if you consider a lot of the support the guy has, unions aren't one of them.
So you're saying Andrew Yang's not for unions?
Not for union. He's against.
I'm not saying whether he's for or against unions. I'm just saying he did not give a good answer, and like because of that, unions aren't supporting him. And it's like,
yeah,
I've seen like maybe like 3 times he's flip-flopped on certain issues, and like it's like he might be the front runner for now, but like honestly, this is actually really too early to say, because like the attacks Maya Wiley and Eric Adams are pitting against him. They're picking up steam.
Maya Wiley for mayor, man.
Is that
So
is
does
that
Yeah,
Bradley
actually,
like Queen.
actually, that's who I'd like to be Mayor, Mara Wiley. But it seems like the only one who has a chance against Andrew Yang for now is Eric Adams.
Yep. Which is another bad choice, but we'll get there. Maya Wiley is the only choice, bro.
Yeah.
okay? Is that who Liberish? Is that who Liberish the podcast is endorsing?
Yes, Maya Wiley for New York City Mayor.
All right. Shout out to her. All right.
Shout
So
out to her.
let's just wrap up the headline section here. So for our last headlines, raising taxes seems like it may be the main issue of the infrastructure bill. So Biden's made waves talking about that corporations are not paying their fair share. However, Representative Richard Neal, he's the chairman of the House Ways and Means Commission. He basically wants the U.S. to take on more debt due to the low interest rates as opposed to raising taxes. So it seems like this is a sticking point. You can't do both. You can't. You can't.
F and F compromise. They forgot the art of compromise in Congress.
Apparently,
Congress forgot about compromising since like the early 2000s. I mean, outside of like invading
certain issues.
wars.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
so
mean,
shout out
like
to
I get what the guy is going for, but I mean, the way the guy presented it, like that, all those like deficit hawks are like just going to like come after him.
There's no true deficit, Ox. Let's get it. Let's get it straight.
Yeah, that's fake.
They
it's
voted for a
just like-
tax bill that destroyed the deficit. There is no true deficit, Ox.
I mean,
There's
like
not.
it's not even just one. It's like consistently, like every tax code, like since the 80s, like has always like soaring the deficit.
It's basically like even like Ronald Reagan, like he was like the deficit hawk, and like the U.S. deficit went up under his administration too.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
Yeah.
like basically, like it's natural. Like okay, what you lower taxes like for everyone, and then like you still spend big on the military, like you're going to get deficits. Like this is what happens literally like every time.
yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, there's lower taxes for everyone, then like it's still increased spending everywhere else. And he also
And like
gave
even like and like even at that, like it's not really lower taxes for everyone. Like what? Because what they do is like they always like secretly like put up with like a tax bomb, like for like middle class people. Like so, this is what people mean when they say that Reagan actually like hiked up taxes like 11 times whilst he was president.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so moving on to our good news segment, right? So again, New York Democrats, at least in the state level, are looking into creating a single-payer healthcare system. However, they're saying the upfront cost of doing such a thing is what's holding us back. I believe there was a report that Matt Gaetz' wingman, he just pleaded guilty.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Pleaded earlier today.
shout out to that. We'll talk about Matt Gaetz later on.
Lock him up. Lock him up.
Lock him up.
Lock him up.
I can't wait till there's like a free Matt Gaetz shirt start going around. So we'll see if that actually happens.
What's it? Get Republicans, bro.
It's very possible. So a majority of voters see an urgent need for police reform in the aftermath of the Derek Chauvin trial. That is good news. I mean, Tim Scott and I believe Tim Scott and Cory Booker, and I'm missing someone else. They're working on a bipartisan bill. It's going to be watered down, but at least there's going to be something. So we'll just see if that actually gets passed or not. And Joe Biden, his administration signed a waiver of intellectual property protections for COVID-19 vaccines. So this is paving the way for emergency countries to receive more medicine to combat the virus. It doesn't mean anything's going to happen now, just more of a symbolic gesture, but it does show that the U.S. is like looking ahead. I think he also recently came out and pledged, I think, some insane number of vaccines to like other countries.
I think it was 20.
The number I saw.
You sure? I think it's either 20 or 80, but you're probably right.
Okay. Yeah. So he's going to donate them to other countries. So we'll see from there. All right. So now time to our favorite part, discussions. So we're kind of talking about this a little bit in the intro, but so Tim Scott, he gave the Republican response to Joe Biden's joint session speech. So basically, he said that America is not a racist country. even though he has experienced racism, even up till this day, with Capitol Police kind of pulling him over all the time. But he says America is not a racist country. This was kind of odd because Biden's joint session speech did not really mention race at all. Some other people kind of joined in and agreed with Tim Scott. This is our Vice President, Kamala Harris. She came in and also agreed that America is not a racist country. And also the kingmaker, James Clyburn, also came out and said something similar as well, that America is not a racist country. Okay, the question to the podcast is, do we agree that America is not a racist country?
America's very fabric is sworn and woven into racism. You can't separate the two. The whole founding, the document that they said started this whole country did not recognize us as human beings. The very laws and stuff that this country went to war with itself. Nearly 1 million people died over race, over what they over states' rights to own another human. America is racist. It's racist in its core, fiber, and being. There's reasons why there's still, if your name sounds away and you put it on a resume and send it for a job, they're not gonna call you back because of a certain reason. They will never tell you. So this, bro, there's a reason why black kids get followed in store while everybody else could just walk around.
And that's also very true. Marcus,
I get where Kamala Harris and even Tim Scott and James Clyburn are coming from, because you don't want to beat their audience is voters, right? They don't want to beat that audience over the head with messages of, oh, the country is racist, because they're trying to win popularity contests.
Right.
So they're not there's really nothing to be gained by telling white people that you're racist, because you're basically calling them evil, and that's not going to win you any votes. That's not going to help you get anything done that you want to get done. So I get where they're coming from. However, I think that Ryan said it perfectly. America cannot keep running away from itself. It is racist. It was born out of racism. I think that if you look at everything that's transpired from bringing the slaves over here to everyone who profited off of the slave trade to the civil, again, we fought a whole war based on the question of race, and based on people just not being considered human beings just because of the color of their skin or their origin.
War on genes too, which is like another war on race in and of itself.
Exactly. Like there's too much smoke there for there not to be any fire. It is a racist country. It still persists today in many ways, whether it's housing, whether it's the way that people have to deal with navigating the job field, getting small business loans to kind of propel their businesses forward, or kind of just any way that you want to achieve the American dream, or achieve like just becoming the person that you want to be. There are so many more obstacles for you if you're black, or just than if you're not. So I think it's a bold-faced lie. I get why they have to tell the lie, but it's a bold-faced lie that this country is not racist.
Do you think one of the biggest issues why we can't handle a race problem is that most people haven't recognized that we have a race problem?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Repeat the question.
Do you think that the main reason why we can't really solve our race problem is that most people haven't accepted the fact that America has a race problem? Because don't they say the first step in dealing with the problem is acknowledging that there is a problem in the first place?
Yeah, like how often do we hear politicians say that, oh, we're talking about politicians, like people who should actually be trying to address these problems, saying that there's not a problem. And if you're listening to people on TV, if you're reading about them and they're saying there's not a problem with racism, you're just going to go along with them. Like, yeah, there's no real problem here. It's a very niche thing. I think niche crowd that believes that there's is a racism problem. A lot of them are black. There might be a few woke white people, a few like woke other people of color. But I think that it's a very small crowd that thinks racism is such a huge issue that's something that needs to be dealt with in a meaningful way.
So I was going to say, Ryan actually kind of stumbled onto a good point. And we didn't have this written down here, but I think the new Republican, like
the GQP,
I don't know if it's a GQP, but it's called critical race theory. And that's pretty much been like the new firing squad for the Republicans, is that they've just been attacking, teaching critical race theory in schools. So I think Ryan does have a point there. Like, if there's so much resentment towards like acknowledging racism in America, how bad the history of it was, I think Ryan's point is pretty valid. Yeah, I didn't want to hear Dan's point of view though.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say basically what I think is a blend of both what Ryan and Marcus are saying. You know, I mean, like, you should be fair and um, you should be fair and like remember like the entirety of what Claiborne and Harris said. You know, that whilst it's not a racist country, you have to address the problems with racism. And yeah, but it's like, I mean, the thing is, what one guy said is like, it's a trick question. It's a trick question that you honestly you shouldn't answer. And it's like, it's a simplistic question, so it's always going to want to trigger a simplistic answer, you know. And it's like, okay, so here's the thing: you have to do. I don't want. Okay, I'm going to sound like Bill Clinton here and say you have to define it by what you define America, what you define a country, and okay, basically what you define America and a country. The thing is, okay, if you want to see like the entirety of like the nation, like people themselves, then I'd say no, because judging from like what the ideologies of like most people, you're not a country at least like full of races. But if you're talking about like, the history, definitely, yeah, sure. I mean, like if it falls down, I mean, like the epitome of the whole thing is like, yeah, like tearing yourselves over, fighting a war in which almost like 500,000 people die, you know, just based around race. You know, I mean, like a lot of laws that like we've had over the years, you know, a lot of domestic and foreign policies we've had, you know. But I mean, like making, but making it be like the entirety of the country, like of the very people like you represent. You know. But what I will say though is like, um, okay, to answer the question, yes and no. Yes, because you've had a whole bunch of laws, you've had domestic and foreign policy built around racial hierarchy. And no, in a way, because like you've always had like people like ready to stand up to those things, whether it's like Lincoln's response and like the fact that the funny thing, like one of the founders like of the Republican Party was Frederick Douglass. Like a former slave was one of the founders of the Republican Party. You know, I mean there's like the response during World Wars One and Two. And I read an article where a guy said that there was like this unwritten rule that like the country had to like actually like stand up to make a more egalitarian society when when we fought World War One and World War Two, as well as the Civil War. You know, so there's that. You know, and then like look at how like you guys responded to like things like apartheid. You know, I mean it's like okay, the thing with the countries that like you can say a good example, I can say a bad example. You know, and one thing that like really disturbed the country was the fact that I mean, remember like all those Nazis at the Nuremberg trial were saying, they were saying like, oh, like we learned from like countries like America, like if you guys like that segregating your undesirables, like why can't we too do the same? So it's like that. It's to cut the long story short, like it's a mixed bag. It's very complex and nuanced.
I don't think race issue in America is complex at all. I think it's just one group with superiority complex, built in,
Yeah.
programmed and genetically altered to feel like they're better than everybody else. That's what started this whole issue. Andrew Johnson with his new idea of race. I say Andrew Johnson or Andrew Jackson? Which one is Jackson? I think yeah, it's
Uh,
Jackson.
Which one are you thinking about? Like,
Andrew Jackson, he was a person that pushed race on Americans, like the idea of race, because he wanted a poor vote, and for the and
yeah, it
for
was Andrew Jackson.
yeah, and for the vote the to come true for him, you had to give them somebody to hate. You had to give them that enemy, and that enemy was black people because they were of a colored
I
skin.
mean, and the funny thing was like, besides it being black people, it was also John Quincy Adams because Johnson Quincy Adams was an abolitionist. Yeah, so there he attacked him on that too. Yeah.
yeah. All good points. So let's move on to a more upbeat question. It's still about racism.
Oh my gosh.
So
I love
Racism
KP.
pod. We dead ass the racism pod.
So yeah. This is a black pod. All right. So Matt Gaetz
Yikes.
and
You think black, you think at HBCU they talk about like race in like engineering class and stuff? Yo, you go to an HBCU, bro.
I did go to HBCU.
What they talk about like in like classes that has nothing to do with race? Do they ever bring it up? Like, what if last night, we get the news or a video comes out, seeing somebody black getting shot again, like
Yes, we will talk about that in some form. I don't know, it'll be direct or very indirect. Like in my consulting class, it's all black, and we were talking about the Derek Chauvin trial. And literally for like the first 10 to 15 minutes of the class, we were talking about the trial and how it made us feel. And we're just venting basically. It had nothing to do with consulting. So yeah, I mean, we do talk about like race and stuff like that all the time. At least at Howard. So who has COVID in the background?
That's my girlfriend, bro. I don't know what's wrong with her, bro.
She better mask up, man. I don't care what.
Both got vaccinated. I'm vaccinated and activated, baby. So I don't really care.
All right, man. The streets
don't let her hear me say that.
All right. We were talking about racism. All right. So Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Greene Taylor, they have started campaigning together. Is this a serious thing, or are they just or has the trolling gone too far?
I don't know what's wrong. Marjorie Greene Taylor should have never, ever came near. But you know what? Was it John Boehner in his new book said they let the cuckoo in, and this is what happened, bro. Yeah. This is what happened, bro. That's how we end up with Marjorie Taylor, bro. I gotta buy John Boehner's new book.
I can't fuck with John Boehner, man. Like, because as soon as he left, one, he cried a lot. I don't respect that. And then
man can't be in touch with his emotion.
No, man.
Masculinity here. That would even be emotional.
Masculinity.
Wait, where was he crying?
He cried when the Pope visit. That's the only time I remember my son crying.
Bro, he cried.
He's a Catholic. He's like the first Catholic speaker of the house. Come on, bro. My son was in touch with his emotion, bro.
No,
and the cheese mafia hated it.
He just cried too much for me in Congress, and it's like, we don't pay for it
once, bro.
That's one too many.
I mean, you have to give him that. I didn't even know he could vote.
To be honest, how many times you see Nancy Pelosi out there crying? Zero. So like I said, that's one too many.
She can't cry though. You know what would happen if a woman crying?
What?
Oh my God, women are so emotional. How can they even be in politics?
Conservatives gonna be like, how can I trust her to make decisions? Huh?
They're killing AOC for being for being afraid after the insurrection. You think they're gonna let Nancy Pelosi cry for anything? Come on.
Yeah.
Especially since they said she's already too old. Oh my gosh, an old fragile old lady, bro. It must be so tough being a woman in Congress.
Woman
in Congress, bro. Oh my gosh.
That's a good point that Ryan mentioned. I mean, like, think about like all this shit, like people like Feinstein and Pelosi get, for being like over 80. But when
Feinstein and Pelosi should retire or resign.
No, I mean,
don't ever take that away from me. I'm gonna give you that. I'm 100% in them stepping down right now.
This is a complete sidebar, but the oldest member of Congress is Senator Chuck Grassley at 87 years old.
No. He's 80. He's 81. Because I know he was born in 1940.
Okay.
Dad, how do you know this?
Yeah, oldest member of Congress is Don Young, who's from Alaska.
How old is Chuck Grassley? Can you Google that real quick?
Chuck Grassley is almost 88.
Okay, that's what. Yeah, so
Chuck Grassley is 87, bro.
87.
Yeah.
So Chuck Grassley, 87 years old. It's honestly
Dianne Feinstein's 87 as well.
Dianne Feinstein, they said she was taking medicine for dementia, and she's still here.
That's the rumor, is that Dianne Feinstein has dementia.
They forced her off of
It's a rumor.
She was the head of the judiciary, and they forced her off, right?
You want to know the funny thing? Yeah. That there's a doctor that came out a couple of years ago and said that she serves a lot of dementia patients from Congress, bro.
Doesn't surprise me.
I heard something similar about I think last week tonight was talking about that on the Supreme Court. that a lot of those Supreme Court, what do you call them? They're not aides, they have a special title, but
Clerks.
clerks. Yeah, a lot of those clerks are pretty much making decisions because like the justices are just like
Facts. Yep.
kind of losing it. All right. Anyways, Chuck Grassley though, he's actually debating about running for re-election in Iowa.
Don't be
He should.
Bro,
They can't find another Republican in Iowa.
He should because he's going to lose that primary. No, people in Iowa don't want him to run again.
I don't know. They said the same thing about Joni Ernst, and she was supposed to lose, and she won comfortably.
No. This is.
And now they have new voting rules too. Like, come on.
They already rigged the game, bro. It's over, bro. It's over, yeah.
I mean, you know how bad how it has to be for like states, super white states like Iowa to be like rigging the game.
Apparently,
a lot of people don't even vote like intelligent. A lot of people vote based on name recognition too. So
yeah,
who votes intelligently?
Huh?
Who votes intelligently? Like, no,
I research all the client, all everybody running down to the school board members.
No, Ryan. My whole point is like if people actually voted intelligently, we'll have like universal health care, we'll have like an actual infrastructure plan in place.
We can't have that Marxism
like if people
here.
voted intelligently.
Bro, they did convince America. The Tea Party in their beginning did convince America that Obamacare was gonna kill people and send them to death chamber beds. So
the death panels.
They made death panels. My apologies, not death chambers. The death panels.
I mean, it may as well be the same thing. Death panels to send Granny to the death chamber. If the panel doesn't like her, it was so stupid, but it worked.
It worked. It worked really well. I mean, like they didn't.
It worked. It worked on one hand. Like on another, you have to remember, like those elections were like low turnout. You know, so
that's perfect.
That's guys that look like you, they stayed home. Guys that look like you, yeah.
All right. So speaking of Black voters, Atlanta's Mayor Keisha Bottoms is not seeking re-election. So here's the question for the podcast. Should she have taken the ambassadorship to the Bahamas instead?
No.
Yeah, if she was gonna resign, you may as well just take.
She's about to get a
do nothing job.
She's gonna get a.
She's gonna have to work.
No, she doesn't. She's gonna get a cushy lobbyist position. They're gonna put her on a couple of boards. That's how it works for politicians when they retire. That's how they put them up to the pastors. Like, she's gonna be fine. She's just not gonna be in the public sphere. Or Biden's gonna hire her. Yo, can we just talk about one thing? What happened to Simone Sanders after she defended Biden so much?
She was in the running for the Jen Psaki's job, and then she just got the same job for Kamala Harris.
Is this the same?
No, she's not the same. She's not the same. She don't have the same. I think she has a title outside of like vice.
She's not the spokesperson.
She's Kamala's senior advisor.
She's a senior advisor. Is this a safe place, though, guys? Can I like speak?
Yeah, Biden hoes, man.
All right. I don't think America's ready for a Black press secretary. Especially a Black female press secretary. I just don't think we're ready for that. I think the media will just destroy her because it's like, oh, she got an attitude today or something like that.
No.
She's just 1 ounce of sass. It's like, no, she has to go.
I feel like you guys, like, most of you guys are ready for a Black press secretary. But I mean, of course, like,
we need a Black press secretary.
Yeah.
Black women tell it like it is.
Have you seen how sassy Jen Psaki's been?
I'd rather a Black woman come out there and try to tell me something horribly is happening in the nicest way ever. No, that's what's gonna happen.
But like,
they calm me down. Calm me down.
You might. Do you think they're rich from Larchmont, New York is going to be okay with a Black woman telling him what to do or telling him about the news?
I don't care about that. I don't care about what white people think, bro.
There's more of them though. They're going to be the ones that are like, oh my God, I can't take this hostile.
I forgot that Biden was elected to be Mr. Middle of the Road.
Exactly.
Well, not even middle of the road.
He's a transitional president.
He's a transitional president.
That's what I called him, and everybody looked at me crazy.
Yeah, but he's
president. But I really like. But actually, like when he was campaigning, I really like how he presented himself. He said, "I'm not the future of the Democratic Party. I'm the bridge to the future." You know, and like he's this transition.
If Joe Biden is the bridge to the future, Burn that bridge now. 'Cause the
I
future
mean,
is not
that's-
looking
that's-
good.
I mean, bro,
So is
the
that a
future
Trump
here,
for
really.
2024 endorsement, Ryan?
That
Because that's
bridge-
burning the bridge down.
That bridge is not looking good. Joe Biden said he wasn't running in 2024. So if he did
Yeah,
that,
No,
he's
he
a
didn't say
liar.
he didn't
He
say that.
did
He
say-
didn't say
no,
that.
he did say
didn't.
he's running.
He didn't. He
Bro,
didn't
we
say-
already
he
know
didn't
from
say
the
he wasn't
grapevine,
running.
you know, my cousin I work at the State Department told me he wasn't running, bro.
If Chuck
So,
Grassley can
like-
run for re-election, so can Joe Biden.
Yeah. No, but and the thing is, he never said he was. He
He's
never
not-
said he would be a one-term president. Someone at his campaign rumored that he might be a one-term president.
Right.
You know, and yeah, exactly. And like that was all that it was, gas.
How
No.
old will Joe Biden be at the end of this term?
82?
80, no, 80, yeah,
81 or 82.
Yeah, 81 or 82.
At the end of
no,
this
82,
term?
82.
How old is he
82
now?
is the new 70.
79, almost 70, 78.
He turned 79 this later this year.
Yeah,
Oh no, 79 next year, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't want a president that's 80, bro. I don't think you should be governing at 80.
Well,
You should be
yeah, I
living
get
your
it. You know what?
twilight here.
You know
You're
what?
an
You know
ageist.
what?
I mean, 80 is the new 60 now, all right, with
Yeah.
medicine and
Yeah,
the government
yeah,
healthcare
yeah.
they get.
No, I mean, besides that, like I've noticed, like a lot of US will actually like really live. Most of them live like really healthy lives that can allow them to like live up to like I don't know, like 80, well until like at least their mid-80s.
So, I mean, that's fair. But I agree with Ryan. I really think that if you had your whole career, you know, you had your whole career. It's time
Bro,
to
let
pass
somebody
the-
else get a
Right.
chance, man.
Right. Yeah. It's time to pass the sticks. Like, it's nothing against like you or your age or anything like that. It's just more so like you had a full length career, pass the sticks.
Oh
to
no,
someone
yeah.
else.
Oh no, yeah. I completely understand that. No,
Um,
but I mean, it's like, you know, in Africa, it's not like it's not like 80-year-olds are running for president. It's like, no, it's like people who come get elected president at 30, and then they'll be staying for like 50 years.
bro, they'd be running from the grave, man. You know.
Running from the grave is hilarious.
That's well put.
All right. So producer Yell is kind of yelling at us behind the scenes to move on. So we'll do that. So we'll talk about Liz Cheney. She's unemployed. Well, not she's unemployed. She lost her job in Congress. So shout out
Lost
to
her
Liz
leadership role. She didn't
Leadership role.
lose that 100 and something $1,000 she making a year. I don't honestly. Good luck to her. Wish her all the best in her future endeavors. Don't really care about Liz Cheney. She voted with Trump at least 80% of the time.
93.
93% of the time. So I don't really care. Elise Stefanik is the congresswoman from the district that I went to college for. It's the part of New York that thinks they're part of Southern America, Confederate flags, everything like that.
Yeah,
So
Confederate flags are always up there.
she's a representation of her district. Trump actually went to speak at her district when he originally ran for president. So
And it looks
that's my
like,
take on it. That's not my party, not my problem.
I mean, and it looks like I heard that like New York is going to lose the district.
Yeah, they're gonna
So-
lose the
So
congressional.
it might be hers. And they said it's very likely it's going to be hers.
It's very possible. Yeah, that could be her seat that he lose. So it depends. But I think
Because-
Governor Cuomo is gonna fight it in court. So we'll see how that goes.
He's got some other court cases to he should be focusing on, no?
No.
Nah, because
Wait,
nobody
wait,
brought
wait.
anything against
what,
him.
what are you talking about here, Marcus?
Or other investigations that he
Well,
should be concerned with? I mean,
Cuomo is a saint, sir. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I feel like he has some other concerns that he should be pressed with or more concerned about than
I don't.
this little congressional seat, especially if it's at least Stefanik. Who the fuck cares?
I don't know. I don't know what New York you're a part of, bro. But the rich don't get sent to trial in here.
Right. I'm still waiting for Trump to go to trial, and like I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's gonna happen.
This is New York,
No,
baby. This is where the rich live.
Give it time.
Give
Give
it
it
time. Give it time, man. Trump is just gonna be gone by.
You gotta wait and see. You have to wait and see.
All right. So basically, the big question between Liz Cheney,
Thoughts and priors.
tossing prayers out there. But the main question about Liz Cheney is, was there a long-term strategy on both sides? Basically, like, was there like a long-term strategy for Liz Cheney to kind of buck the party and say that Trump lied? Is there a long-term strategy on like Kevin McCarthy's end to kind of like kick her out of the party and pick up Ryan's girl to replace her?
It's a bit
I
of
mean, both sides. Yeah, I think that
Yeah, it's a
Liz
bit of
Cheney
both.
is going to be really good, really prioritized for if the Republicans decide to go post Trump or move on from Trump, she's going to be well positioned to kind of reach each into that vote of people that were just too disgusted by Trump to vote for him. And I think Kevin McCarthy's on the flip side. It's like, oh no, we're doubling down on Trump. We can't have anyone who's not a true believer. So let's get rid of her and just show. We'll show because we don't want to get primary. That was like the big threat from the Trumps, not just Donald, but his son was like, oh, we're going to primary you if you don't support us in our, calling this election a fake and the insurrection and all that bullshit. Like that, so that's just let's just call all the people that don't believe in us and let's just clear the path for
that's what
Trump.
They're doing right over there. Hire Trump.
And it's
Pretty
like
much.
I just wanted to say
That's the next
it's
step.
like actually so scary how like these guys have drifted like so far right. Like in the 80s, this Cheney would probably be like really conservative. Like she'd have to tone down her rhetoric like to be like elected. In the 80s and the 90s, like and especially like in the 40s, because like not a lot of people knows it, but like in the 40s, like a lot of Republicans like were really liberal, like very genuinely liberal, like on socials. And then like just look at like what they've turned into. Like it's crazy, Like this is someone who votes like 93% with Trump. Any high school any school you go to, 93% is like what, an A, And then it's like these guys are just tossing around like a used condom.
We don't have A minuses in my college, so.
Oh man!
Shout out to my GPA, man. It is really nice. I had a couple of
damn nice, man.
Must be nice.
Nothing hurt more than getting 89s, bro.
Bro, I had an 89.7. Oh my god. I sat down and prayed and everything. I was so thankful. Yeah. So shout out to rounding errors. But yeah, I mean, like what's crazy about Liz Cheney is kind of what Dan was saying. She did vote like 93% of the time. She also voted for the man too. So it's like I don't feel bad for her. Her dad's Dick Cheney. Like goodbye. Hope she.
I mean, like besides that, it's like usually like when anyone tries to fuck with Dick Cheney, like they usually get like a whole lot of blowback.
They get shot in the face.
I mean,
that's only if you're a friend.
That's a French special, man.
I mean, like remember, like okay, so this Cheney voted to impeach Trump the second time, and then my gauge was like he actually went to Cheyenne like to bitch about her, and then like what happened, like immediately like a week later, they said, well, this guy is like a pedo. I mean, like that's the curse of the Cheney, man. I mean, it's like you can fuck with them for now, but like you get a whole lot of repercussions later.
I just wanted to shout out the Cheneys because they had a gay daughter and they kind of like never talked about it because they're against gay marriage.
And the gay daughter.
No. See, that's the thing. Like with Bush Cheney's, like those are two guys who I genuinely didn't believe like in the crap they were pushing. I mean, it's like the thing with, because people forget, the thing with George Bush is like Bush he comes from an Episcopalian family. Like he's Methodist, yeah, but he comes from an Episcopalian family. And like everyone knows like his dad, but then like there was his grandpa, Prescott, who was like I said, he was a liberal Republican senator from Connecticut, and like he was so the thing is like this is something like all of them like they didn't even believe in. I mean, like, and besides Bush, like Cheney actually hated when he said he called for that constitutional amendment that like should ban gay marriage, because like Cheney was like, okay, like let's be civil about this. Is like a state issue. It should at least like go to states, I mean, and besides that, people wanted Cheney to be president. Like it was supposed to be Reagan, Bush Senior, then Cheney, but like because around that time in the late 80s, that was when Mary came out to him, and then he was like, I can't be president because like people are going to like lash at me on the primaries over it, But even at that, it was really pretty disgusting when Liz said she wanted to run for Congress in Wyoming. And like, if anyone else is listening to this doesn't know this, like Wyoming is like a very underpopulated state. So the entire state, it's its congressional district. So like being a congressperson from Wyoming is like statewide, So like she had to. So when she was her primary opponents attacked her like on her sister being gay and everything, and then that's when she came out and was like, that I fervently oppose gay marriage in every fiber of my being. And that's how she managed to move.
Shout out to that, man. Throwing family under the bus. Also, This is a nasty sidebar, but was George Bush Sr. the first and only person to beat the Me Too movement? Because you guys don't remember how he kind of like grabbed like an AIDS ass and it's like, you guys don't remember that story?
Yeah, I remember.
You guys should Google that story. Like he grabbed, like he had made like a pretty corny joke, grabbed like an AIDS ass, and like no, everyone just like chuckled at it. Like no one said cancel this perverted old man.
I think the funny thing, that guy's like the most civilized Republican president in the last 50 years.
Not saying much.
By comparison, that's just sad.
Yeah, I mean the bar is pretty low here.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to wrap up the podcast. So we got to move on to Israel versus Palestine. I'm going to give a very ignorant account of what I've been seeing on the TV. Basically, a bunch of Palestinians living in East Jerusalem haven't been paying their rent. Israelis were like, "We're going to evict you," and some violence happened. And all of a sudden, Gaza got involved, started firing some rockets. Israel started firing rockets back, but their rockets actually hit because Gaza doesn't have the Iron Dome. And now it's like a full-fledged war between Gaza and Israel. Is that pretty much more or less what happened?
Nah.
Yeah.
I feel like you made it see. Evicted. Kicking somebody out of their family.
Look, I think this is a good time for me to talk about like what actually happened in Sheikh. Because what happened was, look, this is something where it's not even like a public land thing. It's not like an Israel versus Palestine thing. What happened in Sheikh? It's a private land dispute, and it's like, okay, so Israelis bought that land like almost 200 years ago. Then when they fought this war with like Arab states, when they were trying to gain their independence, Jordan controlled the West Bank at the time, which is where East Jerusalem, borders East Jerusalem, part of it is in there. And they expelled the Jews out. They ethnically cleansed that area. So they brought Palestinian refugees there. Then when Israel won the 6 Days War, they came back. They passed a law where they could reclaim that neighborhood. And they reached an agreement with the Palestinians because they didn't want to like just throw them out. They're like, okay, you guys can live here. We'll be landlords and like you pay us rent, and they settled on that. But apparently through this case was that for since 1982, apparently they haven't been paying some Palestinians. Seven Palestinians that they were about to evict haven't been paying rent. And even like some Arab Palestinian woman like was talking about the case, and she said it's that they can't even show ownership because they don't have the leases. But like all the other, and that place is not completely owned by like Jewish people. Like there are Arabs and they all have leases, their deeds and everything. But like these guys that they want to evict don't have them, So and even at that, like the Israeli Supreme Court is going to like make a case on that. So then that happened. Then some rabble rousers from Palestine were like, see, these guys are like about to evict these people and like ethnically cleanse East Jerusalem and have salvage hold over it, and then that's.
But this sounds like gentrification, just like Middle East style.
Yeah, it does. But like I said, like it's complex and it's a private land thing, That's why I even told you like the evictions shouldn't happen. Like they should just come to like another agreement, another compromise, like they did like before. So yeah.
Let me ask you this though. So we all know that the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, right? He's on his fifth.
My homies hate Bibi.
Shout out to Bibi. He's on his fifth reelection.
Are we shouting out Bibi? Man's evil and corrupts. He's under trial for corruption.
This is like his fourth time.
Fifth.
Come on.
Fifth
time. Now another bout of elections because he couldn't form a government, and this just happens to pop off when he loses power.
Is it possible that Netanyahu instigated this to kind of push for a conflict in order to
It sounds like
people.
something he'd do, but like I haven't like read from like any like Israeli or Palestinian journalists like what they saw that he was directly behind this. But yeah, I mean for sure, like the timing seems off
The
because like this is
riot,
what he does.
the
This is what he
It's his
does. He thrives
administration.
off chaos.
the RIA,
This-
the Ryan intelligence agencies, as reported that Benjamin Netanyahu instigated this to take it attention off his crimes.
I agree with the RIA. I just hope the RIA doesn't mess with me, man. So I trust them.
Look, that's the thing. Look, like, since a lot of guys are explaining this, I mean, like this, it seems patently obvious he might be behind this, you know. But
So
I mean, there's been nothing said of that.
let me ask the podcast this question, right? Because I understand there's an argument that Israel has a right to defend itself, which it does. Every sovereign nation has a right to defend themselves. But it seems like the fight's a little bit kind of one-sided a little bit.
It's always been one-sided, bro. It's always been,
I disagree.
One kind of guy. Hamas or Palestine kill like 2 Israeli, and then proportional responses. Israel killing 1,000 people, innocent civilians, not really targeted strikes. Yeah, Israel give you a warning that they're gonna bomb somewhere, but let's be real. You getting and Marcus, you at your house, right? You get a warning. You get a warning a couple hours later. Oh, we're gonna bomb your house. Does that make you better, bro? Because they're gonna give you a warning that they're gonna bomb all your possessions.
What it'll change? It does not change anything.
It does not change anything,
Well,
bro.
They did destroy like a media building and then claim that Hamas was working out of.
Yeah,
And
and it's part of the whole campaign to kind of like silence media that might might give a better picture of what's happening to the Palestinians. Like that's apparently part of their whole bombing campaign.
And dumbass Tom Cotton gonna talk about that why would the Associated Press and Al Jazeera be housed in a terrorist building? Bro, shut up. You sound dumb. Tom Cotton speaks, he embarrasses America, man.
Okay, well,
It's
but
true.
like, look, like, there's actually even like with like the whole striking, there's a lot of nuance to get through, and that's okay. To cut it short, okay, yeah, look, the Hamas is like a legit terrorist organization that's explicitly called. It's in their charter. I'm not joking, but they call for like Israel to like wiped off the map, and these guys they fight. Okay, so what happened was they launched rockets from Gaza, where their territory is, over to Israel. They bombed like Israeli cities that are actually really diverse, like Tel Aviv, where they've killed like Muslims, Jews, Arabs, Israelis, and Palestinians alike in Israel, and not in Gaza as well, because like a lot of the rockets misfire, and then they land back in Palestine, and they kill civilians because these guys, like their terrorist launches, they're in a lot of
Dan, I have a question
places.
for you, Dan.
Yeah.
Police come to your neighborhood, right? Looking for a killer. You're not the killer, right? But they arrest everybody for the murder charge. So just because one person in a neighborhood do something, they're gonna come for you and everybody that's in the neighborhood, and you're gonna be prosecuted for somebody else's crime.
I mean, that's I mean, that's harsh, you know. I mean,
that's what Israel has been doing. Most of the bombs that Hamas has fired in the last couple of years hasn't really touched Israel because the Iron Dome,
the Iron Dome is
taxpayer pay for.
I mean, but like that's okay, yeah, sure, but like the Iron, I mean, it's like
again, what's the proportional response, bro? 1,000 people to 1?
I mean, look, it's like I'm like I already explained like why like most of the death toll is like on the Palestinian side. It's like they're 2 intifadas. That's what happened. Like a lot of like violence was sprung about like terrorists from Palestine. But at the end of the day, it was mostly Palestinians that like got killed from it. You know, I mean, it's like those 2 intifadas. Israel wasn't prepared for it. You know, and it's like sad to say, but if a 3rd intifada should happen, God forbid, Israel is very much prepared for this. They have an Iron Dome and everything. And the Iron Dome it's not completely safe. It's 90% safe, and that does a good job. But I mean, even still, some rockets can slip through, and like I said, they've killed like all sorts of kind of people in Israel. Like they've killed Palestinians in Palestine and in Israel, and like Hamas like doesn't give a damn.
And again,
I mean, like,
bro,
look,
and again, bro, I'm asking, bro, what's a proportional response for one or two people dying and then you go kill 1,000 people?
A proportional response should be you yeeting out the terrorists that were behind this. And like I said, like when Gaza, where Hamas is, what they do is that a lot of their terror launches are in densely civilian places. That's why, like, the idea of they have to go through all this trouble of like when they get there, they tell them like to get out, that like they're going to like try and get out terrorists. Like that apartment building they're talking about, what happened or was that Hamas, like they hit some of their weapons in there. So like the idea of they went down there, they told like all the civilians like clear out, they evacuated them because they said like they were going to demolish the building.
Why demolish the building that everybody lives and they can't clear out the weapon if they know the weapons are there?
Like they got people out of there. Like the Hamas, like I said, they make sure they got all the people out of there, so that.
And I'm saying, so they just destroy. But they just destroy. You see the issue right now, right? They destroy a building that they know the weapons in. They operate in that territory like it's their home country. They could have sent officials there to empty that. Now you just bomb down somebody's family home, bro.
Okay, look, I mean, look, yeah, you get it. See, a lot of the optics, like, they don't look good. But the thing is, that is actually a war crime. Like putting weaponry in like a civilian unit, that in itself is a war crime.
Israel can't be the person to talk about war crimes, bro. Come on now.
That's a good point.
Come on.
Yeah. Look, and see, this thing is not like about like blindly defending it. I mean, look, I could spend a whole day talking about like how like the Israeli right has like been a dick and not been honest about like peace talks, and like they threw their own mind. And look, it's like this thing is like there's plenty of blame to go on both sides. You can blame the Israeli right for like being a dick and like pushing Palestinians like to the limit, and not being able to like come to peace talks. Sorry, excuse me. And
what the blockade, and sometimes, bro, I don't think we're really as smart as we say we are. If I'm trying to stop terrorism for whatever, why would I put a blockade, right? So I put a blockade there. I put a blockade there.
Talking about.
It's just getting up, and if I grew up in an environment like that, of course I'm gonna hate you. Of course I'm gonna call for the destruction of you.
Yeah.
You're creating the cycle. Because if I grew up hungry and everybody tell me, "Oh, Israel put a blockade on my country, and that's why we're starving," isn't that?
Yeah.
It's not. You can't say these.
You're driving people into their arms.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
It's not indoctrinated.
Look, like I said, like I was just talking about that. Yeah, in '90s, like it's not fair. Where it's like, okay, look, the extremism that like is in like Palestine's government. Like honestly, you can't even come to the government because like Hamas is like literally a terrorist organization. It's like. You guys like it's like okay, Israeli people like politicians are Israeli right. They create all these policies where it's like okay, put up the suffocating blockade on Gaza in 2005 and everything. It's like it stifles their economy, and then like a lot of these guys like they turn to terror, and then like they come after you. It's like on one hand, it's like I mean like are you surprised because like you okay fine sure look terrorism is never the answer like of course like we all agree on that. But I mean, it's like these guys, like you put them in a position where, you put them in a position where it's like these guys are poor, they're vulnerable, they're angry, and then like they get through this, and like like it sucks, like and it shouldn't be the case, But I mean, like even like in that aspect, like honestly, like terrorism can't be the answer because when this is all done, like it just hardens the Israeli right to be like. You see why we need occupation, even though occupation is a bad thing. It sucks and it stifles the whole two-state solution. But yeah, I mean, I get that. But in this case, it's not a case of both sides. It really is a case of some people like responding to terror and like responding like as responsibly as they can.
I mean, the situation is really complicated to say the least.
Yeah, it's really complicated. Even in this, like it's really like this is one of those scenarios where you wouldn't know, you wouldn't like you're not going to get the whole gist of this until like after it's over, you know. But for now, like what I'm listening to, like Israeli journalists, Palestinian journalists, Arab Israeli journalists, and Palestinian human rights activists, like honestly, like if you want like pure info on all this, like those should be your source.
I think like what kind of doesn't help Israel's case though is that it's been kind of the government's response to annex parts of the West Bank.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, that's just
I know. Yeah, I know the funny thing. You know, the funny thing is like I just read from like an Israeli guy like living in Israel is that a lot of these settlements like Israelis are actually giving them back. Like they're moving back like into Israel. Like okay, no, sure, fine. Like you don't want, and it makes sense because it's like you've moved to a remote area where like your government's power is even disputed, where like you're so liable like to terrorism. Because like one time I saw a video of a guy touring the settlements and like there's a stretch of land in the desert where their wall is set up. And then like over the border, like you can see like Hamas, Hezbollah flags all over there. And it was like, you guys, you're living like from a stone's throw from terrorists. Like, so like you are not safe. You know, that's why a lot of these Israelis are actually giving the settlements back. You know, and like again, like occupation hardens like Palestinians like right to like have self-determination because these places are fragmenting parts of the West Bank, you know, and making it harder for Palestinians to govern. You know, so this is like one of the dick moves of like of the Israeli right, like in making sure that Palestinians like don't get like their fair share of the deal.
Yeah. No, I mean, good point. And unfortunately, that this podcast will not be able to solve the issues between the Palestinians and Israel. We'll
Don't
try.
worry, Jared Kushner can.
I was going to say we should deploy Jared Kushner out there again.
Did such a good job the first time around, right?
Yeah. I mean, give it up for those Abraham Accords.
I mean, he got the Golan Heights to be called the Trump Heights, so that's something special. So, all right, guys. So I think that's all that we have today for the podcast. Dan, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks, man.
For your support on the sidelines as well. We want to give a special shout out to Carly. She's wrapping up her semester. So grades come first. So shout out to Carly. So that's really all I got today. If you guys like the podcast, you know, please rate it, please subscribe to it.
Like and subscribe, man.
Like and subscribe, share it with a friend. If you hated the podcast, share it with someone else so that they can hate it together. So we get our views up at least. And that's really all I got today, guys. And we're out.